Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. In the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the Quantum Realm in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble.
Assemble.
Volume 152. We are now out of the Quantum Realm and into, unknown territory of what a Disney Plus show coming next. We know movies coming next, but I'm thinking maybe a show we'll get before that. But how has your week been, Brent?
It's been all right. It's always a little weird on these shorter weeks. We didn't have Monday because of the holiday, and tomorrow's Friday, but it's one of those every single day this week I felt like we were on the wrong day. But that's okay. It's wrong in the right way. It's a short week. I'll take it.
I always hear that it's so wrong, it's right.
I mean, come on. You know what it's like. Today's Thursday. It's worse if you're like,
Yes.
oh, today's Friday, and it's only Thursday. No, today feels like Wednesday to me, but it's already Thursday.
See, I just call Thursdays forever for me have been known as mini Fridays. That way I can convince myself it's okay it's Thursday because it's mini Friday.
I'm going to stay up late. Who cares? Tomorrow's Friday. I'll just be tired.
Exactly. So
how have you been?
We had Monday, we had work day Monday, so I got a lot of stuff done. Had a very busy week with the family with various things changing up because Erin and the kids are going out of town to visit her parents in Florida. So it's a lot of schedules got jumbled and activities and stuff like that. So it's been it's been busy, but hey, I'm enjoying it all. So.
Perfect.
And I see Top Gun's in the chat. Welcome back, Top Gun. Haven't seen you in a while. I'm glad to give you your ASMR. Always happy to have you here, Top Gun. All right. Well, we've got a lot of little news stuff, but a couple of big topics, including one that broke really late today. So let's get into all the good stuff, but we'll get the show plugs out of the way. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUAPod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we want to thank our patrons. We cannot do this without your support. We've got 2 tiers. Our $1 tier is our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job, and then we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows, including our show, We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance MCU Rewatch. We've got 13 episodes on the feeds right now, and episode 14 is about to drop this Monday, patrons. And what are we covering this month, Brent?
I'm already kind of off. What are we? Ant-Man. Ant-Man's where we're at, right? It's like, wait, we recorded. Excuse me, forgive me. I've done my homework for next month already because
I know you have.
It was the best time to do it. So I had to remember where am I at in the actual official timeline. Ant-Man. Look for Ant-Man soon. In a week.
Yeah, Monday morning it'll drop in the feeds. So, episode 15 we'll be recording in a couple of weeks. But yeah, this month is Ant-Man. So hope you enjoy that. We also have the DC Alliance guys doing their DC Through the Years rewatch, so check that out as well. We've got a lot of back content from all the other hosts on the network. I know they're brewing to come back with some more Patreon content over the next few weeks, so be on the lookout for that, patrons. And I hope you're enjoying the content. But if you're not a patron yet and want to join us on Patreon, go to www.patreon.com/GUA Network so you can become a patron of the GUA Network. But if you can't join us on Patreon, we totally understand. We got give us 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Prime, all those lovely podcatchers of choice. It helps with the algorithm, help gets it out there. At that point, we greatly appreciate it. And last, but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPP have got it going on with immaculate customer service, excellent packaging, ships around the world, and if you buy any books, you actually get points to get money off of your next orders as well. I always forget to plug that, but it is a very unique feature of OPB. You buy stuff, you get money back. But this is a huge month for pre-orders. We've got Captain America, the Trial of Captain America, coming back into print. Nick Spencer's final volume of his run on The Amazing Spider-Man. Alpha Flight by John Byrne coming back into the print for the first time. Thor by Jason Aaron, Volume 2 has been solicited. Marvel's Omnibus returns, the second part of this as well. But one thing I want to plug too, it has been extended. It's 2 years since OPB has been in existence, and they are doing a buy two get one half off sale of all back omnibuses and absolutes from across the board. Let me move to the Marvel side. 249 books that are part of this sale on the Marvel side. Buy two, get one half off. So that has got 5 more days left to celebrate OPB's 2-year anniversary. So again, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. Use it an unlimited amount of times. It lets you know you're a listener. And we want to thank Organic Price Books for being our official sponsor. All right. Brent, Mr. Feige, was making the rounds last week promoting Ant-Man, but also dropping some tea. So we always know when it comes to release week, we're always excited about new Marvel content, but we also know that means it's time for Kevin to make the rounds and drop some tea, as it were. And he dropped some interesting tidbits, but I think the biggest one, and it ended up being like a day or two later, it kind of started being proof is in the pudding. He basically brought out the idea that they're going to start slowing down content. And they're going to start kind of pausing and not necessarily stopping it, but letting content be, what they release is going to be very strategic, but not kind of push it all out there. So he was speaking to Entertainment Weekly and spoke very candidly about the amount of output that they've had since coming back from the pandemic. And after referring to a Saturday Night Live sketch that poked fun at how frequently MCU was putting out content, Feige admitted that the sheer volume of projects has made it very difficult for the studio to tap into one of its most impressive feats. He said, I do think one of the most powerful aspects of being at Marvel Studios is having these films and shows hit the zeitgeist. It is harder to hit the zeitgeist when there's so much product out there and so much content, as they say, which is a word I hate. But we want Marvel Studios and the MCU projects to really stand out and to stand above. So people will see that we get further into Phase 5 and 6. The pace at which we are putting out content out on Disney Plus will change so that each one can get a chance to shine. We're already beginning seeing this. Last Friday, we saw the poster of the Marvels premiere. That's the first kind of anything coming out of the Marvels, really.
Yeah, but outside D23, because they did see a clip there.
They did, yeah.
You're right. And in it, Monica's wearing a super suit. She's got a costume. We still don't know what her code name's going to be, but it's a good poster. It looked good.
Yep, and we got like all the 3 Marvels on there, but underneath it was on there a new date. The Marvels has been officially pushed back from its July release date to now November 10th. So we're already starting to see, they're already like putting pen to paper with delaying content. Even though he was specifically talking about Disney Plus shows, I think we can also read between the tea leaves is like, we're going to spread out content. Because that's something about, and I brought this up before with looking at this year. Basically, having Guardians and the Marvels go basically back to back, that, not saying it's going to take away from Guardians, but it seemed to me, especially with nothing movie-wise for Marvel in the fall and winter, that kind of struck me as a first for them since they've started this whole thing of having at least something in November.
I mean, kind of. Let me go ahead and say this. I am glad they delayed the movie. I'm glad that it's delayed. Mm-hmm. We've talked before about how, like, even I feel like I love everything Marvel does. I think they need to slow it down a bit. As much fun as I have had with, back to back, so much content, especially after that 563 day or whatever it was drought that we had between Spider-Man Far From Home and WandaVision. I'm so glad that we don't have that anymore. I think they've gone too much over the other way. They've overcorrected. And if you read the tea leaves, some of that may have been Bob Chapek, the bad Bob, the Bob we don't claim. And that may have been him pushing it out the door. But
should we call him he who should not be named?
Bob who should not be named.
Bob who should not be named.
The other thing is the original schedule. But this is going to be hard. Just bear with me, listeners. The original schedule after Spider-Man Far From Home came out in July of 2019. We were going to go all the way to May of 2020 before we got Black Widow, which was the next scheduled release movie. Mm-hmm. And it was, at the time, the next scheduled release project. Now, who knows if they were going to release anything in between those Disney Plus wise, but as far as things with the release date, we were going to go from July to May. So it's not like this is the first time that was ever going to happen. You know, we were going to go from July of 2023 all the way to May of 2024. But I'm still glad that we don't have to go that long again.
Yeah.
You know, like we were going to have 3 movies between when let's see, we had Black Panther Wakanda Forever in November, then we had Ant-Man, then we had Guardians, and then we were going to jump straight into the Marvels. All of that, like 4 movies in under the year, but it was all so close together. Now at least they're spread out a little bit more. I think this is a good thing. They can fill the room with a couple Disney Plus shows. You know, we're probably only getting 2 of them this year. Fine. But I think this is actually a good positive thing. I saw a report that allegedly this is because they need more time for the effects. Fine. I don't care what the reason is. I just think you don't have to show me your work. You came to the right conclusion.
Yeah, and kind of going, we've always said delays in this case, especially with what we've dealt with in a number of projects as Phase 4 movies and shows included, VFX aside, plots that could have been kind of rethought about and kind of watched and maybe retooled a bit. I'm all for that. And, the Hollywood Reporter kind of followed this up with their own sources that are calling this there being a massive correction from the past couple of years where it seemed endless amount of things to watch. And one agency partner whose client works with the MCU called THR and said, you can have 10 mediocre shows or you can have 5 great shows. Either way, people will still stay on Disney Plus. So, but I think Feige's got it right in the sense of echoing that. We've got content. We know people are going to come, but do we need to dilute and damage the brand as people are just saying, well, it's okay. You know, I don't think Kevin Feige is illusion like everything has to be end game level, but quality above quantity is the best thing because again, they already have their plan. We already know shows that we're not worried. I am not worried personally of the shows that have been announced are going to be canceled. That's never been him. It hasn't happened under his watch necessarily. Things have been moved, things have been delayed, but things that have been officially announced by Marvel Studios has not been canceled. So,
asterisk next to the Inhumans, because
that's not Marvel. That's not Marvel's. But that's not Marvel Studios.
But it was announced by Marvel Studios.
It was okay.
You're
right. Yeah. Okay.
Theater at the Phase 3 slate. It was.
You're right.
It got moved.
You got me.
Asterisk next to the Inhumans because we still got it just from a different part of Marvel. But your point is still right. So out of the 40 some odd events, or at this point 50 some things that they've announced, they've delivered on all but one. And that one, we still got a project from Marvel Entertainment with that. I agree. I have wondered though, are we going to have to wait even longer to start the Daredevil series? I'm eyeing that Daredevil series. So it's but you know what? If we have to, we have to. I want them to take the time to make it as good as it can be. And I right now, TV wise, I'm focused on Secret Invasion and Loki season 2. That's where I'm focused. Fine. Everything else can wait.
Yep. And so that kind of leads to what THR was kind of breaking down with all the possibilities of where the shows are. So yeah, Secret Invasion and Loki season 2 are pretty much locks for this year. From what we're hearing, it's looking like Secret Invasion is going to be a May project release, where you and I have heard either May 10th or the following week for it to release at that point. Loki probably is going to shift a little bit to late summer, beginning of fall at this point. Depending on where it works at that point, I could see end of July, beginning of August, or maybe just a little bit later, early fall at that point. But those projects are locked. Ironheart was kind of has now been looking at, that's the first one to get pushed. We even put it in our kind of what things we're looking forward to at this point, even though, yes, it is done. They're probably going to do some reshoots and everything like that. However, for the most part, it's the principal photography has been done, but that's looking like it is going to move to beginning of 2024. Fine. That again, the other thing we keep on thinking about is they're looking at where projects fit. Do you really need to put a project then? But if it's tied to something else, that's one thing that I think we've heard some criticism about, at least MCU Phase 4, in the sense of particularly having movies and shows film and then say, wait a minute, we've had to move projects. Now you've got to do this. Now you got to put this in. Famously, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness and No Way Home switching. that
Yes.
they want to. I think from what I'm reading between the lines on this with Kevin Feige, they want to avoid doing that in the future.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I would love to see them just try and preserve the order that they originally came up with, especially for those projects that are dependent upon each other, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if uh, rumored Eternals 2, allegedly that's moving into a development stage or production stage or something. I don't know. I saw a rumor from well, let's call it a broken clock scooper, as you like to say.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just take Eternals 2 at face value. They say they start working on that. Well, they probably doesn't matter what order that comes out versus
Mm-hmm.
the Daredevil TV show again, right? Just to go back to that.
Yeah.
Like I somehow I doubt those two things are going to be directly tied to each other. So if you need to flip them, fine. I don't care. But Spider-Man and Doctor Strange were very much tied to each other. And
Mm-hmm.
so it does, like, there is part of me that I enjoyed both of those projects a lot, but there's part of me that will always wonder what they would have been.
True, and you can there's the art books that have come out that with Spider-Man No Way Home, you can see the artwork where it was the kind of catalyst for this was not going to be Stephen Strange in No Way Home. It was going to be America Chavez was going to be kind of the catalyst for that. So you can see they put out the artwork. They're not hiding it in that sense. So it's always interesting. One of the ones, neither one of us thought that Echo was really going to happen this year, especially with the director and the showrunner basically saying, like, yeah, it's if anything, it's going to be late 2023, more likely 2024. So that being moved to 2024 really doesn't surprise me. Agatha Coven of Chaos has been basically kind of, I wouldn't say put on hold. I think they're just kind of holding where it's going to better fit based on where they're trying to, what I'm hearing, what they're trying to do with the story. And this is what I'm saying. As they're writing and they want to know what ties in together, they have to develop both of those projects. If Agatha's tying into something else, they need to make sure both of those projects are in line so they drops it appropriately and they don't have to do massive changes and insert things to make it shoehorn in based on moves. So I like what I'm hearing, and people's like, oh, it's in trouble. No, it's not in trouble. They're doing what they said they were going to do. They're making shifts. They're trying to correct they're listening to what critics and fans have said what was concerning about Phase 4.
Right. And I think that's fine. And, again, reading between the lines, you get the impression that Feige himself agrees with some of that stuff. Now, let's just add into it, hey, let's watch the marketing. Let's not put too much out there. Still, like, Multiverse of Madness, I think, has been the worst of it. But there's still plenty of stuff we don't need to see. I still wish they would just put just a moratorium on third act. If it's third act, don't show it. Just it's off limits. Don't show it. But whatever. Like I of course I saw some people reading this and saying, "Oh, look, the MCU's in shambles," and I'm like, the MCU is just correcting. They went a little off course. They're just correcting. It's fine. I'm here for it. And I know there's people who are impatiently awaiting for their particular favorite hero or heroes in the case of the X-Men. I get it. It stinks, but I'm personally okay with it. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait and be patient, and this will give us an opportunity to revisit what's already come out more often than jumping immediately to the next one.
And especially when we hear like a project like Nova, like we've heard back and forth, it's a special presentation, it's a show, it may be a movie. Like we don't know where Nova fits. Last we've heard, that has been put on hold. Not that it's going to. Again, it's where it fits. Right now, we don't know a lot about Phase 6 outside of Fantastic Four, Kang Dynasty, and Secret Wars. So there's a lot of stuff in flux about where that can go and what's going to do. Because take back. Deadpool 3 is in Phase 6. So again, this, I like hearing Feige go on the record saying, we've heard you. We're gonna hold off and let content shine where it is. Again, if they space it out appropriately, everyone gets their moment. Guardians now kind of owns the summer. At that point, depending where Loki's placed, it'll be placed towards the end of the summer. Secret Invasion is the beginning of the summer, in that sense. So
it's still a good year, and there's still a chance. I feel like I'm seeing mixed reports on What If season 2 and X-Men 97 on definitively when those are coming out. We might be getting one of those this year as well. So, but right now it feels like we are. I don't even know what month we're in anymore. We're in February, but we still have 4 more projects this year. We still have 4 more. We have 2 movies and 2 shows that are a lock. That's a great year, right? Like that is a great year.
And we've got 2 Sony projects being Across the Spider-Verse and Kraven.
I applaud you for saying that with a straight face. But you're absolutely right. We do have Across the Spider-Verse as well, and sure Kraven. Like it is important to know. Like we are not already. So we have 6 Marvel projects to look forward to for the remainder of the year. Minimum. There still might be 1 or 2 more of the animated side. It's gonna be okay. We're good. Yeah. We're not going through some massive drought where, we're going through 500 plus days without a content.
Exactly. So, but again, it's something we want to acknowledge at that point. Delays are fine. And probably as we keep on hearing, more delays may be coming. And that's, again, okay. If it gives us more time, better VFX, better stories, more tightness amount as we're entering deep into the multiverse saga, that's great. But he also talked about how we're in the multiverse saga, but not every project is going to be Kang related. So also realize that, Marvel's, I think we're going to see some multiverse connections. Guardians, I'm not expecting, nor do I need multiverse connections with that necessarily. It doesn't have to be in order to tell a good story. Not everything has to be multiverse related.
Yeah, and just to remove we mean the main story, not the credits.
Yeah, the main story. Yeah,
credit scenes are always fair game. I agree. I don't really anticipate. There are projects that I think could be Kang projects where he has something to do, but Kang's not showing up at Echo, right? Kang's not showing up. I agree. Probably not in Guardians. Look at what else. Like they trying to think of what else there is coming down the line. I don't know. Captain America: New World Order, maybe, but that's probably not right now. Knowing what we know about it, that's not one that I think is likely to be. Same with Thunderbolts. Same with Blade. I don't necessarily see any of those chiefly being about Kang. Maybe something tiny, but in general, they're not. And I think that's okay because, well, one, Jonathan Majors will need a break. But besides that, like there are still other worthy stories to tell, and I want them to tell them.
Exactly. So, but all right, before we get into the rest of the news, we're going to take our first ad break. So, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. You don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud. Give that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. I see a quick thing from All in the Game saying going forward is 6 projects a year, max become the norm. 3 movies, 3 shows. I'd almost say 3 movies, 2 shows. If it's 2 live action shows, I say 2 shows will become the norm.
Yeah, I'm going to split the difference between the 2 of you and say 3 movies, 2 shows, and a special presentation.
Okay, okay.
But really, I feel like boring business talk. Disney Plus does not need 3 Marvel shows to keep people subscribed because the people who subscribe for Marvel are also watching all the Star Wars stuff. So between Marvel and Star Wars, like as long as we get let's just say we got 4 projects a year, 1 a quarter on Disney Plus between Marvel and Star Wars, like that would be plenty. Like so many of us, and pretty much almost everybody who listens to this show, we're not going to unsubscribe. We're not part of the churn or anything. We're just going to stay with Disney Plus through that. They don't need to give us 5 or 6 Marvel projects plus 2 or 3 Star Wars ones to keep us in. Like they've already got our money locked in, so they might as well slow it down a little bit because they're not making any more money by doing it that way.
Yeah. So, but yeah, one thing I forgot to do at the beginning of before we got into the show is actually remind you all we have the February GUA crossover this Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All hosts from across the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network will be, including myself, will be joining in and just talking about everything in the world of geek and nerdom. Phase 2 patrons, the $5 level, you will get a link to join into the Zoom call with us at that point. So look out for that as well. So we're all excited. So again, this Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, our February crossover event.
So
All
the day
right.
this releases, if you're listening to it,
Yeah.
the day it's out.
Day releases. And before we move on, Earthbound Man says, I think 3 and 3 is probably the right amount. Yeah, and I like how Brent, you threw in 3, 2, and 1 special presentation. So
I mean, I really just want more of those. Like, I really like that format. So
yep, and they seem to like it as well. So, all right, well, this is coming straight out from Deadline, broken exclusive a couple of hours ago, and it is Steven Yeun is joining the MCU in Thunderbolts in a key role in Thunderbolts. And so the Oscar-nominated actor from Minari and scene-stealing part in Nope, and many know him from his time on The Walking Dead. Steven Yeun, is scheduled to join the movie Thunderbolts in a key role, not just for the movie, but for going forward in the MCU. So this is not a one and done thing from what Deadline has. And a Deadline is one of our A tier scoopers. They obviously have their sources placed high. Marvel did not comment on this, but he is joining a very big cast that includes Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, David Harbaugh, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, Wyatt Russell, and just so many at that point. The question is like, who is he playing at that point? And some people, when this broke, saying, "Oh, it could be Sentry." I'm leaning towards possibly being that this is coming off of right after Captain America: New World Order. Could he be playing Amadeus Cho?
I thought of Amadeus Cho, and there's of course people mentioning Sentry. It won't be this one, but I saw one person say Cyclops, and I'm like, I actually like that, but it's
awesome.
It's not going to be
Cyclops.
They're not introducing Cyclops in Captain America: New World Order, but if they did, I mean, it'd be cool. He's great as Invincible. He was great as
Yes.
On the
Wait a minute. Could he be Invincible? Could we get our Spider-Man Invincible team up?
No.
How about that? Oh,
we're not that lucky. We're not that lucky, but there is that one glorious issue of Marvel Team Up that takes place between a couple panels of Invincible that is Spider-Man teaming up with Invincible, and it's amazing. Go read it, but it's on Marvel Unlimited. Go read it. I don't know, like Amadeus Cho, sure, maybe introduce another Hulk character. I could see that, and that would also kind of fit with some of the rumors that they may or may not be working towards a World War Hulk storyline. I don't know. I was trying to think of other super soldiers, like because the Black Widow, the Freudian slip, the Thunderbolt cast is very super soldier heavy. So I was trying to think of other super soldiers, and I didn't really come up with any that I really like for him. Like maybe one of the 2 or 3 people that were Nomad at some point, or one of the other Buckies. But because there was James Buchanan Barnes, but there were throughout there were other Captain Americas while Steve was on ice, and the other Buckies to go with that Captain America. They made Bucky a title, a position, not just the character's real name. So maybe he could be one of those, but I don't know. The only reason I would say I don't want the Sentry is I've yet to see where the Sentry is cool. Like he's basically just an another Superman type character, but to me, he was never as interesting as Superman is, and he was never as interesting as Hyperion was too. Like maybe it's just the comics I read, though I feel like I've read most of them with Sentry in it. But maybe this would be the opportunity of the time for Sentry to be cool. I don't know. Great casting. I loved him in Invincible. I loved him in Walking Dead. I'm excited for Invincible season 2. So whoever he's playing, I hope it's somebody. I know it's a significant role. I just hope we don't have another like a Bill Murray on our hands where it's like a total pointless waste of time. So
no, especially with the way Deadline says like he's going to be, part of the future of the MCU. I agree. I loved him. I've loved him in Invincible. I loved him in Walking Dead. I love the movie Nope, and he was a great part of that. He has an amazing amount of range, and especially starring in A24 as a Minari, where he got his Academy Award nomination for. Again, representation matters. The community he brings in and the community he represents at that point. Marvel is doing this as they recognize his talent, they recognize his stature. He has range, so I can understand when people say Sentry because of what the Sentry is. It's not just like, I know you said like a Superman character based on a power set, but he also has what one would term as, kind of like Moon Knight, DID. In that sense, he has literally a different being within him as well. The Void.
Okay. One, I wanted to say Silver Surfer, but he's not coming in New World Order either.
No.
Here's a possible, though. Blind Spot. Blind Spot. Recent partner and sort of sidekick, sort of partner to Daredevil. Samuel Chung, that's the character's name. Read recent Daredevil issues. For brain farting right now hard on which author he was a part of.
I think that's Soul's run.
I think you're right. I wanted to say Wade, but no, I think it is Soul.
Yeah, it's Soul's run.
It's all these great Daredevil runs, pun intended, run together. But Blind Spot, that maybe, and that is the type of character that I could see working in. I said New World Order earlier. I meant Thunderbolts. I could see a character like that working in Thunderbolts. So what I'm going to say right now, I'm just going to call it. I think he's going to play Blind Spot.
Okay. Well, we got Brent told you at that point, so we'll.
I'm going to write that down.
Yep. All in the game saying didn't Scooper Jeff Snyder report that Gosling was rumored to play Sentry? Yes, he has, and I think again, I think Ryan Gosling is definitely a talent that the Kevin Feige should bring at the MCU, as you kind of jokingly put, everyone at some point will be in the MCU. But that's where people like, oh, the MCU's dead. It's all this stuff. It's not done. I liked what you put out there in the sense of you found a tweet of the the amount of money that Phase 4 project had made at that point. In comparison, they'd still made more. We'll talk about that real quick. I don't want to get down a rabbit hole with it.
Basically, and I don't have the tweet right in front of me, but basically it was one of those people that were debunking the whole MCU is dead. Heinz likes to give me grief because I like to give people grief, because everyone said, oh, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is dead after Endgame. They're just absolutely dead. They're crushed. They're not going to do anything. And no, it's still going strong. People are still turning out. I mean, Ant-Man just had a third movie and it cracked $100 million opening. Ant-Man cracked $100 million opening weekend. So, yeah, the MCU definitely dead. And that's what they were pointing out, basically. Just all these projects are still doing really well, really strong. Even Eternals, even Shang-Chi, which didn't have as high a box office. When you add it all up, they're doing fine.
I think all in the game said the Sean Nyberg tweet. You're probably exactly right at that point. But the reason I bring that up is they keep on getting these big name actors, these up and coming actors. They want to be a part of the MCU because they see what this does, not just for their career, but also they have fun with it. They enjoy it. You wouldn't get these actors if they weren't enjoying what they do and doing these kind of projects. So, I mean, look, I love it how Ethan Hawke talked about how he got into Moon Knight. He knew Oscar Isaac, he was friends with him, and said, hey, can I be a part of this? Because I want to have some fun. And same thing with Harrison Ford. All these people are doing these projects and they're obviously enjoying it. Why can't I do this? So it's not for everyone, but I want to bring that out nonetheless. So I'm very curious to see exactly what's brought out. And, again, Stephen Yeun, welcome to the MCU. Welcome to the MCU.
Very happy to have you.
Yep. All right. So next topic, we cannot seem to go a week without some more Fantastic Four rumors and casting ideas. In a tweet from Deadline's Justin Kroll, he's got an interesting casting update, and he said that they are gearing up for the casting process this month. And while no rumored names, he did mention that they are believed to be casting Sue Storm first and building out the rest of the team after her casting is set. It's rather unexpected since Reed is usually the face of the team and the de facto leader. An initial casting focus on Sue Storm isn't surprising because Reed Richards is usually leading the character, and Reed's garnered the most casting rumors about it. But perhaps Marvel Studios is starting with Sue because she's the sister to Johnny, so both actors could possibly resemble each other, but don't have to. I mean, I haven't seen it. You have Fantastic Four stick at that point, so you don't have to do that.
Let's just say, for all that movie's problems, the fact that the two siblings do not resemble each other was not one of them.
No, it was not the main reason, but some probably toxic people will
Sure,
probably say that.
losers hated it. That's fine. Who cares? Screw them.
Yeah.
She's the heart of the team, right? Like she is
she
the heart of the team. So you could,
Mhm.
I get why they would build it around her, and that's fine. She's one of the most powerful characters in the MCU.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's important. Like all four of them. This is big time casting. Like you can't screw this up. So no, I think it makes sense to focus on her.
And you know what? Again, she can a lot of times, control Reed in that sense of what he does and get him back from his, not all the time, but a lot of times brings him back from the brink of going too far necessarily down the rabbit hole or going too far down to, let's talk about the evil side. Not always successful, but a lot of times. So I like it that they're focusing on the Invisible Woman first. Along with that, Insider Jeff Snyder has saying Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman will be introduced in the MCU as parents. If true, this information suggests that the MCU couple will likely be older than past incarnations. How much older? Again, they just say like older. They're probably not going to be in their 20s, or at least early 20s. It's unknown whether the couple would already have become parents to both of their children, Franklin and Valeria, but Snyder posts that Marvel Studios will look for an actress in the 30 to 35 range to play Sue. So that is interesting. We have not seen the Fantastic Four in live action with Sue and Reed already being parents, and especially knowing how powerful Franklin and Valeria are in the comics, or at least Valeria is, Franklin was. I'll leave it at that. But typically, Franklin, up until recently, he was an Omega level mutant. Valeria displays mutant abilities as well, but also leans on and enjoys her Uncle Doom, as it were. She's very, very close to Victor.
And I was just thinking, I love the idea of hearing Uncle Doom in a live action movie. Mm-hmm. I think that's great. I love the relationship that those two characters have, and Marvel Studios has shown with Spider-Man, the last time they fully, made projects with a character who had pre-existing projects, that they didn't want to just repeat everything. They obviously did the elements of Spider-Man, but they different villains. They did a little bit of twist. We have Michelle Jones instead of Mary Jane. We have, basically Aunt May serving as Uncle Ben. I could see them doing this. Like this rumor, there's credibility to it, at least for the idea to me, because we haven't seen that in the different incarnations of the Fantastic Four that we've had, both Fantastic and the earlier movies, which were definitely the better two. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen them do the parent thing. We haven't seen it. And it would be a way to also differentiate them from the rest of, we don't have any other heroes with kids right now. And so it'd be a way to differentiate from the rest of them. Is that going to lead us to something like Future Foundation? I bet it does. Probably not in the first movie, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if a second or third Fantastic Four movie was really called Future Foundation or Fantastic Four: The Future Foundation or something like that. And that's where a lot of the family and extended family really come into play. So I love the idea. I think it's great.
Yeah, on the game, just throwing a fan cast out there. Jodie Comer fits the age range, and just kind of looking at it, I remember her in Free Guy. I hear a lot of amazing stuff about Killing Eve.
Okay, Free Guy is why I know her. Okay,
yeah, but that's sure. Again, I'm whenever you all kind of say, "What are your fan casts for this?" I'm not really great at fan casts. I do my homework first before I put out my fan casts, but. Yeah, no, I'm there for it. But again, I think the most consistent thing we've heard out of this is they're really trying to go for people of color with this Fantastic Four, not necessarily making the entire I wouldn't say they're trying to make the entire team, but they are going to have representation in the first family of Marvel, which is good. They should.
Yeah, I couldn't care less if all four of them were people of color. But
yeah.
And I said as much on Twitter once, and someone did remind me, Ben Grimm, I really do think needs to be Jewish. Like that needs to come first, and then I don't care. So as long as he is Jewish, I really couldn't care less about the rest of them as far as what their race goes. To me, it's not important to any of their characters. So whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. All right. So, moving on from Fantastic Four, from the first family to let's talk about some X-Men. I mean, I'm wearing my Wolverine shirt today, so even though it's not Wolverine related at that point. All right. X-Men's Ian McKellen eyeing return as Magneto reveals a Marvel star. So, who's spilling some tea? In an interview with Entertainment Tonight Online, Patrick Stewart teased another appearance by his Professor X while also revealing that his co-star Ian McKellen might be interested in coming back as well. While talking about his role on the Paramount Plus show Picard, Stewart joked that Charles Xavier, well, I'm looking to borrow his wheelchair for to do much more in Star Trek, or standing up is becoming a bit of a problem. He then went on to remark that his close friend Ian McKellen, who originally played Magneto, might be coming back as well. He said, actually, it went very well. He did something like, hey, we would have done this. And he said, yes, it's true, but we're not done, Sir Ian and myself. We've got plans. On the record, dropping that tea in an interview. And so rumor has it that Magneto was actually supposed to have filled a cameo in Multiverse of Madness. However, for whatever reason, the scene, which would have featured Michael Fassbender's version of villain, was cut. Supposedly. That was a rumor. However, the rumor for this is that he's at least in Deadpool 3. That is at least the rumor being pointed out right now.
Yeah, and Deadpool 3, I mean, that project makes sense, or obviously Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea. Like Magneto and Professor X, like for all the ups and downs of the Fox X-Men, the casting for Magneto and Charles Xavier were all great. All great.
Both versions were
absolutely. So if you can get any of them to come back, and even for a small cameo, even if it's just a little, if it's a joke in Deadpool 3, even if it's nothing substantive, I think that's great. Do it. Like, I'm totally here for that. There are other characters and actors from the Fox X-Men that I personally couldn't care less if we see again. But ultimately, I do want Marvel Studios to have their own cast, like going forward for their versions of the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, etc. But fun little multiversal related projects, I'm definitely here for it.
And especially now, we're also hearing rumors of supposedly someone from the Foxverse, particularly the mutant side of the Foxverse, they have supposedly approached someone that they feel didn't get their justice. And I'm only thinking of one name when it comes to that, when it comes to Deadpool 3.
Someone who didn't get their justice. I mean, could probably come up with a couple people out of that list, but I haven't seen those rumors, so I'm not going to speculate right now.
Yeah, I've one, but I'll leave that for another time at that point. But I like the way that was said. I was like, I think I know who you're talking about, but I'll just kind of keep quiet on that. But yeah, so again, Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, one more time on the screen. Yes, I know. The last time we saw him, head got snapped off at that point, but doesn't mean there aren't other versions out there.
When's the last time that stopped anybody? Come on.
How many times has Professor X died? I mean, we're in the Krakoan era. He's already died 3 or 4 times already.
I mean, in that era, haven't they all died 3 or 4 times? Like, isn't that a whole big plot point?
Storm has been one of the only ones not to have gone through resurrection.
See, I'm showing my ignorance because I am not current on the current X-Men stuff at all. Like, I read through House of X, Powers of 10, and I didn't make it much farther than that. So
that's okay. That's what you got me here for, to help you out.
It is. I don't need to know. You'll tell me.
Exactly. All right. So our last story of the night is updating. We call this the Brent side of the show at that point because he's my box office guru when it comes to breaking down all these lovely statistics. So Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, first weekend box office. What did they get for that 3 or 4 day weekend, and where we stand as of tonight?
So I alluded to it earlier. The 3-day weekend, they ended up doing $106 million. I've initially it was 104, then it's 105. The final actuals came in 106.1 million. No, that's not in our document if you're reading it. Highest for the Ant-Man franchise by about $30 million at this point. That's a huge uptick. People absolutely were interested in this movie, be that for Scott Lang or Jonathan Majors or all of the above. But as of this recording, they're at 287.8 million worldwide, 127 of which is domestic. it's off to a fantastic start. It's off to a fantastic start. Is it off to the kind of start that's going to get it above that 850 average threshold that we talked about a few weeks ago? No, I don't think it is up necessarily off to that start, but it's going to be a great solid outing and the third very profitable Ant-Man film for the MCU. That said, I have to bring this up.
Brent's got to get on a soapbox.
I do. I neglected to mention something in our Ant-Man review last week. So, minor spoilers. If you haven't seen Ant-Man, quit listening for at least a few minutes. I even said in the review, because I listened back, we got to talk about the helmets later. And I didn't come back to it. I just totally forgot. I, years ago, got over the whole trope. And this is a trope for all superhero movies, and it predates Marvel, but arguably Marvel Studios does it the worst. Maybe it's just the most because there's the most of them, where the hero has to take their mask off so you can see them without it. Years ago, I got over that trope. Fine. Well, I'm going to see, part of the movie with the mask on, then it's going to come off, and that's going to be it, right? Mm-hmm. For some reason, in this movie, MODOK, Ant-Man, Wasp, for the 5 minutes she was on screen, Wasp, and Cassie Lang, all of whom who had super suits with masks that would cover their faces, constantly were putting them on and off, taking them on and off, mask on, mask off. They would put the mask on, they would punch somebody, they'd get knocked down, they'd take the mask off. Oh, you hit me, and then they'd put it back on. Like, it was constant. It was too
much.
much.
Like we're in a Chumbawamba song. I get knocked down. I'll get up again.
I take my mask off. I put it back on again. Is more like it. It was so constant, and that's not even counting the inconsistencies with can you wear the mask? Like, can you have the mask off when you're shrunk down? Can you have the mask off when you're in Giant Man status? And I realize Giant Man in this is still subatomic because of where they were. But it just, the thing that bugged me, and I get why people can't handle that stuff. I'll chalk it up to the tech and the suits getting better or whatever, the pin particles getting better or whatever. I don't care. I was just so annoyed with how often those damn masks would go on and back off. Just pick one. Just pick one. I prefer them on because I think they look cool, but just pick one. All right.
Yeah.
I'm done.
So, no, I made the joke. I was like, I guess we don't quantum realm. Everyone breathes normally. That doesn't live there anymore, so it really doesn't matter. So
and even that I could be like, well, Janet, she was down there for 30 years, but I don't know. It just pick one. That's all I ask.
Yep. So, but all right. Well, so yeah, we'll see what we're both predicting a bit, probably a decent drop off, big drop off at that point. But again, that's tied to cinema score. It's tied to again, even though the audience score,
cinema score was B, which we predicted, that came out right after we got done recording, and that's not good, guys. Like, that's not a good cinema score. It's not.
No.
But I don't know, 64% drop. That's what I'll call 64% drop. So
and again. We will say, for those of you that have listened to our review, for those of you who have, I'm glad you like it. It's gotten some very good play at that point, a lot of positive comments and that. So thank you all for listening. For those of you who haven't listened yet because you haven't seen the movie yet, slight spoiler alert: Brent and I give a very fair review, I believe, and you're not going to witness us tearing down the movie as a lot of critics have. There is a lot of positive with this movie.
Get this, a coworker of mine, not David, but David's gonna, I guarantee, text me and ask me who, told me today he thought Ant-Man and the Wasp was better than Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Like, you know what? That's not a journey I can go on with you. I can't go on that with you, sir. But
okay,
to each their own, I guess. To each their own.
As friend of ours, Ray would say, it's all subjective.
That is what they would say. He loved it. So I'm like, all right, you like,
good for him.
You like
I'm
Black
glad.
Panther more? Okay, I respect it.
Yeah, go for it at that point. So, all right. So before we get into our last part of our show, we're going to take our final ad break for the evening. So again, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. Give you that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. So Brent, you sent out the Spidey signal for the questions. What do we got?
All right, first up from Omari Daniels. Was Quantumania the Star Wars film that some have said it is? What do you think?
I think you're comparing apples to oranges. I get where you're trying to get at with the question. I know where Amara's going. I'm just being slightly jerk about that one. No, Amara, I see where you're going with it. I would, as I said in the review, this is probably the most true to Ant-Man originally than and the other two Ant-Man movies were at that point. I think I'd say it's more Star Trek than Star Wars in the sense of going to different worlds and exploring, as they say, strange new worlds and new civilizations. I say it's more Star Trek than Star Wars.
I mean, there was a literal cantina scene, right? So, but
fair,
I totally get why people think and say and compare it to Star Wars. Like, I think that's a valid comparison. I would not say this was Marvel Star Wars. I would say there was elements of this that were maybe homaging Star Wars, and I think the cantina scenes may be one of those. But like to me, like I did not watch it and think this is a full-on Star Wars movie. Like, no, I don't have that feeling. It's cosmic. Like, it's not cosmic, right? It's subatomic. But I would say it's more like a sci-fi movie than science fiction fantasy, which is Star Wars.
Yeah, it definitely, I saw like a little bit of those Star Wars things before I sat down in the theater, and I wasn't actively looking for it, but even reflecting on it, leaving the theater, I was like, maybe. I think it's made just, like you said, the sci-fi elements, but not necessarily, like, I just don't get that Star Wars feel because there's so much there with Star Wars that it's just hard for me to kind of make the comparison in that sense. Not just because of the illustrious history compared to Ant-Man's 3 movies. I'm not saying that. It's not there. Like I say I get more Star Trek feel out of it versus Star Wars.
And I can see some of that as well. Yeah. Amari's next question says, for me, what was the better experience, seeing Quantumania or the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl? I can pick both if it's really both. No, it's not really both. Let's be honest. It's the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, right? Like, that doesn't happen all the time. Like, I get Marvel movies every year. No, they're not all the same caliber. Like, was this Chiefs winning the Super Bowl better than like the first time I watched Endgame? Probably not, if I'm being honest. I'll take the Endgame. but no, the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl is fantastic. And especially sweet after a year when everybody thought because they traded away one player that the Chiefs were going to be doomed. I'm like, no, they're fine. They're good. They're gold. They're always
the Chiefs are doomed. The MCU is over. It's done.
That's right. That's right. Just everything's going down. Amara's final question: are there any MCU films that you came to enjoy more after rewatching them? For example, he liked Iron Man 3 at first, but seeing more of Shane Black's other movies, he has a greater appreciation for it now based on how Black writes dialogue.
Yeah, I would say that movie for me would be The Incredible Hulk. I didn't hate it when I saw it, and I kind of alluded this during our Patreon review, so if you want to hear that, join our Patreon. But I think that movie, as I've seen it more in my appreciation for film and seeing the kind of the long game with the MCU, even though it's not the same actor playing it, there is a lot of good in that movie than was originally looked at, and I think that movie has now gained a better following. But yeah, Incredible Hulk for me, that has grown in appreciation, and it's why it's a mid-tier MCU movie for me, a high mid-tier movie for me versus lower-tier MCU movie.
The first movie that really came to mind for this was actually Captain America: The First Avenger, which was always a movie that I enjoyed. But like, my level of admiration for this movie has gone up immensely the more I watch it. Like, I like it more every time I see it. So much so that, well, I'm not declaring it the best comic book movie origin I've ever seen. I think it's in the conversation, and if someone told me it was their favorite, I would completely understand why. I'm not declaring that because I would really have to think about that harder, because there are obviously other great comic book origin movies out there. But I do think it is certainly in the conversation, and that's the first movie I thought of when I saw this question.
All right, what you got next?
DC Outlaw, do you think we'll get official casting for the Fantastic Four? before or after official casting for Superman and Superman Legacy, and he means the full team, not just one member. So John Krasinski does not count.
All right. So do you think we'll get an official cast? I've said before that our official announcement of Fantastic Four cast will be SDCC. Doesn't mean we won't have leaks, but I think it depends on who's on stage first at that point.
No, yeah, we're on the same page. Marvel is always last. Like the years they're there, they're always last. DC, I believe, usually opens Hall H. So
yeah,
I think we will officially find out Superman first, because I think we're likely to find that out as well at SDCC. That's just the next most obvious place it'll happen. Because of that, DC's going to be first because they're on stage like 10 hours earlier or whatever.
Yeah, and also we all know and I love James Gunn tweeting and putting the stuff out there. This is an announcement that he will not relegate to a tweet. He will not relegate to a trade. He wants to have that moment. It is his moment as co-studio head of DC Studios to put out, walk on the stage, here's our Superman. Just like Feige, he knows how important the Fantastic Four is to Marvel fans and in Marvel Comics itself. He wants to have that moment to walk, and here is our first family of the MCU. Sue Storm, Reed Richards, Johnny Blaze, and Ben Grimm, the ever-loving blue-eyed thing. They all want to have that moment. So, yes, technically, DC Studios will be first.
For both of them, really, really hope this does not get scooped. I hope the trades don't pick it up. I hope they are able to keep it under wraps. But realistically, at a minimum, one of the scoopers will say who it is first, if not a trade. To me, it feels like the kind of thing a trade drops like 2 hours before the actual event. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, people like Casey Walsh and all them who want to beat each other. So
they just they reveal too much. But regardless.
Yes.
All right, DC Outlaw's second one. I'll be curious to hear what you think about this. I saw a TikTok stating Quantumania was basically a Fantastic Four plot with Ant-Man characters plugged in. I haven't read many comics from either Ant-Man or the Fantastic Four, so does this make sense to you? Do you agree with it? Also, do you think this movie starring the Fantastic Four would have made a good plot for the first Fantastic Four movie there? So a couple things there, but what are you thinking?
I understand. Like I said, I've read enough Fantastic Four. They're not definitely being in my collection. They're just not like my kind of top tier. They're not my kind of ones I lean towards. I'll read them. I enjoy them. I'll tell you what, I'm really enjoying the relaunch of the title that they've done right now. So I can definitely recommend that because it's very intriguing.
Was that recent?
Yeah, you should start seeing maybe the first issue drop within the next month or so.
I think the first issue might already be on Marvel Unlimited because I think I may have added it actually, but I haven't read any. Yeah, first issue. Yep.
They basically kind of like set up something major happened, but they're following like the members of the team first before the most recent issue that came out reveals what exactly happened.
Okay.
It's one of those. We're not still waiting like we are in The Amazing Spider-Man at this point when no one knows what the hell happened there. So we're playing the real long game, Mr. Wells and JR. But anyways,
it's okay.
Besides
we have the Dan Slott Spider-Man book with Mark Bagley and
yes,
art.
we do.
Beautiful.
Yes, thank God we do. So I can see where you're coming from, where people are saying that they did that in the idea of them going in and out of a lot of times the negative zone and things like that. I can kind of see that. I don't necessarily feel that way because of something we brought up in our review. We see a lot it's Scott and Cassie and Janet, while Hope and Hope's forgotten and Hank's just kind of one step above Hope in this movie. It's not as true of a family as like that whole family unit as I expect the Fantastic Four to be. But I can see kind of where they're saying that from. I don't fully agree though.
So I don't entirely agree, but it's close enough that I'll say I get it. You take out Kang, you put in Annihilus. You take out the quantum realm, you put in the negative zone. And yeah, you do have the basics of a classic Fantastic Four story. Like I do think it's there. I will also point out Scott Lang has been an acting member of the Fantastic Four before.
Correct.
And so I mean, not to it. Yes, I do think there's an element of it there. You know what? It's more of a Fantastic Four movie than it is a Star Wars movie. How about we call back to that? But
okay.
His other question: do you think this would have been a good plot for the first MCU Fantastic Four movie? No, I don't. I don't think it would have been a good plot for the first one. Second or third one, sure, I could get behind something along those lines. Not the first one, though.
Yeah, I think that's it. I would love to see them tackle in one of the Fantastic Four movies Annihilus. I think it's important for them.
Yes, please. Yes, please. So we can get to Annihilation someday.
There we go.
I'm gonna need Nova. Gonna need Nova to show up.
Give it time.
All right, give it time. Immediate potential. Nova is a character with immediate potential. Kevin Feige years ago. All right, last question.
You and Brandon Davis are leading that charge.
I will not let that go. Unfiltered says, "Do you think a version of Kang will appear in the Fantastic Four?"
Yes,
absolutely.
Guaranteed. I will. I am a 100% with you on that. 100%. The question is, which version?
I mean,
we've got a lot. Maybe we'll find out who bought Avengers Tower. That's all I'm saying.
maybe it was Nathaniel Richards. Yes, I absolutely think we are going to see Kang in the Fantastic Four. To take that to the bank, it's going to happen.
Yeah, we're not even putting that as a factor of fiction because that's for us. That's an easy fact.
Yeah, no, like that's not even on my list of possibles because it's too obvious. Now, now that we've said all that, watch them not do it at all.
They're true, but I'll tell you right now. Once we enter Phase 6. This is where I say you get a lot of Kang coming into play even more. Like a lot of those not every project, but a lot of the projects are going to be very Kang focused, leading towards Kang Dynasty.
I bet we get a lot more Kang credit scenes.
Fair.
You know,
I mean, then it's something else. The trolls against Marvel can say, "Oh, all they're doing is Kang now. Kang credits."
The Geek First guys do their draft every year, and they get points for the credit scenes. I'm forgetting who had. Was it Kirkland? I don't know. I forget who had
Kirkland's
Kang.
already won.
He cleaned up.
One movie, Kirkland wins.
You guys should probably call Kirkland for the next year also. Or not Kirkland, but Kang for next year too. Like whoever goes first, he probably needs to be your first draft.
Or you just take him off the board because it's not fair.
I listened to that review the other day though, and I was cracking up when they had that realization. So good.
Oh my God, that was great. I loved it. All right. Well, that was a lot of good questions. Thanks, y'all, for hitting us with it. As always, you can always message us anytime. Now, you don't have to wait for Brent to put out the questions. Feel free to DM him, me, or wait for the call for questions. But great questions this week, listeners. Really appreciate it. All right. So, fact or fictions? And let me pull those up from a couple weeks ago. No, we didn't. We already did those.
Yeah, we did. You just need to read us your new
Yep, I got to read us ours. Yeah, so we took that break, so we're coming back. So, all right, so I am up, and my first one, we will see the phrase, as it were, the Guardians of the Galaxy will return at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Fiction.
All right.
I think we will see somebody will return. I also think the Guardians of the Galaxy in a new incarnation will return, but I do not think it will say the Guardians of the Galaxy will return. Though now that I've said that, watch at the very end Chris Pratt declare a new team, the Guardians of the Galaxy. But
the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
The Asgardians of the Galaxy. I'm standing by it. I'm going to go fiction on it. I like.
All right, I'm going fact because again, it's one like you just kind of said it. A new team will come back. We didn't say this team. We just said the Guardians of the Galaxy will return. So. I will go with the broad interpretation at that point. So I'll go fact on that one. All right. Number 2, go box office. Our favorite discussion. Craven.
Oh, God.
Won't cross 50 million during its first weekend domestically.
Okay. Didn't Snow have something like that for the 2023 predictions?
He had something along those.
He said Craven will make under 250 million worldwide at the box office, and you're saying it won't. Tell me, read it again.
It won't cross 50 million during its first weekend on the domestic side. It will not make 50 million on domestically for its first weekend.
Fact. That's,
Can you look up real quick what Morbius did domestically? Because that's what when I was working on this idea, I pulled up Morbius, but I forgot to write it down.
well, not much.
Yep.
Because Morbius domestic entirely, like the entire run was only 73.
Okay.
39 million opening weekend.
so there is
70,
precedent.
74% second weekend drop for Morbius. Whew.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Ooh boy. So I'm a fact on this one. Just based off that.
Yeah, fact. You got that one. You got it.
Yep. All right. So my final one. Val. Don't call her Val. Just think it.
Don't call her Val.
In fact, don't even think it. Will make a cameo appearance in Secret Invasion.
Fact.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I don't know where. I don't know how.
I feel like they're turning her into. I mean, this is kind of what she is in the comics, like an opposite number of Nick Fury.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fact, sub-fact, we are going to see her interact with Nick Fury in Secret Invasion.
I would love that. I want to see that moment. I want that moment.
With Samuel L. Jackson. Will it be Nick Fury? Time will tell, but it'll be Samuel L. Jackson.
I want that moment. Yeah. I want that. I want that meeting to happen. So, all right. Yeah. Well, I will post those on Sunday afternoon. So be on the lookout for that. And all right, let us head into our comic book club with Amazing Spider-Man number 10. And I forgot to put this out there. This lovely book came in this week from OPB.
Pick that
Spider-Verse, Spider-Geddon, the Omnibus, first time ever put together in an amazing reading order. This was something because when Spider-Verse originally was an oversized hardcover format, the mapping was atrocious. So everyone's wondering this is a great reading order, outstanding, and you can pick this up from OPB. But yeah, this is a thick boy. But
that is a thick boy. You're right.
That is a thick boy, thicker than a Snickers bar, as my friend Omar would say. So,
well, that's a phrase I'm going to start using.
All right.
This for me, the highlight of this issue is the 616 Peter versus the 616 Peter from the past.
Yep,
it's Superior Spider-Man versus the main Peter Parker, basically fighting for ownership, fighting for leadership of the team of spiders that they've assembled together. And what you have to know is like Superior Spider-Man is one of my favorite Spider-Man stories. I love Superior Spider-Man. I think it's the best story Dr. Octopus has been in. So getting to like when this came out, I don't remember how long exactly after the Superior saga ended. It was so much fun to get a revisit Superior Spider-Man during that time. And seeing the two of them fight each other, absolutely love it. The arrogance that Otto has, thinking that he must be from later in the timeline because surely he wouldn't lose back the body back to Peter Parker. I love that. And the way Peter defeats him by using that incorrect, infactual knowledge against him. Absolutely love that.
Especially when he, realizes in the sense of, wow, you're not necessarily the Peter I think you are. He has that realization that it is, and I'm incorrect. I forgot to change it. We're reading. We're on issue 11, not 10. Sorry about that. But yeah, I love it. Like you said, he thinks that he is a Spider-Man in the past, so he has no idea who he is. But that sudden realization: wait a minute. You know more than I do. Like it's that like, oh shoot. I've misjudged you. I still think I'm superior, but yeah, you're different.
This issue did something that I criticized the last one for, where it kind of like dovetailed and like launched off to some of the miniseries and checked in on them, if you will. I think it did a better job of it. It does, it does launch off with the Ultimate Spider-Man from the cartoon and with Miles, who was from the Ultimate Comics. So definitely an Ultimate group there. They go to the Spider-Man 66 world. That's kind of fun. But
the art style is great.
They really nailed that. But I think I want to give credit. I think they did a better job of like checking in on those side stories where they're trying to get you to buy those miniseries than they did in the previous one.
Yeah, but then you get kind of the arrival of Solus, the head of the family at that point, and they were like, oh, they thought they were safe in, we're on Earth 13 with the Captain Universe Peter Parker at that point, because why would they ever go out? He's got the Enigma Force at that point, and boy, were they in for a shock when Solus basically goes after Captain Universe Peter Parker and takes him down easily.
Yeah, it just like this was the world where they were supposed to be safe.
Yeah.
Captain Universe Spider-Man was supposed to be able to just mop the floor with them, but he couldn't leave this universe because he would then lose his powers because they were tied to his universe. As a whole, the entire reason they use his world as a base is he can protect them with ease. And they just kill him. They just straight up murder him without any problem whatsoever. The spiders are screwed. The inheritors are way too powerful.
Yep. And they have now the Scion. Benji Parker is now in their clutches. So the bride, which is Silk, and the other, which is Ben at that point.
And can I just point out the artwork in this there's some beautiful, beautiful artwork in this one.
Very much.
There's a spread. It's not a full spread, but like it's in the middle of a 2-page spread of several of the spiders together, just walking forward. I like. Can we just get rid of the word balloons and turn that into a poster, please? Because it's so good.
Well, Olivia Coipel is definitely no stranger to this show. I mean, we've covered him on House of M. We've done a lot of different things. Like, he is an outstanding artist, and definitely one that is, again, it's like you said, it's outstanding. It really does. He has a great handle for. He's definitely probably in my top 5 artists, but I think I wouldn't mind him continuing on a Spider book. He definitely can bring his own flair to these characters, and while still honoring who created them in the past. So.
Absolutely, yes, it would be great to have him on a Spider-Man book.
Yep. So, all right. Well, we will move on to part 4 next week at that point. And all right. Well, we've come to the end of the episode, Brent, and nice bit of news at that point, and we'll see exactly where box office takes Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania next week, on top of whatever news items drop. But so want to thank our official sponsor, organicpricebooks.com, for all your omnibus hardcover needs. Use that code MarvelGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. Again, one more time to plug the GUA crossover event Friday, or today as you all are listening to this, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and join us in there. And we're looking forward to it. Brent, where people can follow you?
Go to brenttech.social and you can find links to social media and all of those that I'm at. So brenttech.social, that's the best way to find me.
All right. Yep. And you can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers. New episode dropping this Sunday morning at that point. A returning guest coming back, looking at a DC title. So we're continuing on looking at a series of that. So be on the lookout for that. And you can follow this show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, fact or fictions. Continue to rate, review the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast of choice. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, Brent, post-credits discussion tonight. Looking at, I was very happy when I saw this come across my Twitter feed. I had to double check, making sure it wasn't a joke, it wasn't a thing. It looks like we have now officially gotten word that X-Men 97 Season 2 is a go. According to a tweet from Cal Dodd, who is the voice of Wolverine, he posted a tweet that said, "Yesterday, Studio Season 2, great session." He then said in the video saying, "Cal Dodd, voice of Wolverine from X-Men 97, the beginning of Season 2. I say, just the beginning. Strap on your seatbelts, bub. Later." because after everything we had heard what was going on at the animation side of Marvel, basically letting go of majority of their staff, we were like, oh God, we know we're getting one season. What's happening with the rest of the seasons? Well, he has confirmed we're at least getting season 2, but we are now hearing rumors that possibly looking at seasons 2 through, we're looking at possibly from Casey Walsh saying that he is hearing they're aiming for 4 total seasons of this show. Oh my gosh. Pump it through my veins. Yes. All day. Yes. I know Mr. Hines was very excited, not just seeing that season 2, but also possibly with Casey Walsh. I am praying and hoping that is correct.
Yeah, I saw that rumor as well, and I saw this video from Cal Dodd about season 2, working on and I had to like double take it. I'm like, is this a typo? Like, I knew season 1, sure, but season 2, no, they're season 2. That's fantastic news. Great news. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with this, and I'm working my way through the show. I'm doing my own rewatch of it. I've finished season 1, but I'll be starting season 2 probably soon. But I'm excited for this. No, hopefully we do get it this year. If not, it'll be next year.
Yeah, I'm hoping for this might be towards a fall release for them, and it'd be great. I'm a huge fan of the show, and hey, plug for this weekend, my episode with on the Animation Nation with Travis Hines. My jumping on that one is we're looking at Days of Future Past. That's one of my favorite episodes, or at least two-parters. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah, Brent and I are big fans of the show, but I like hearing it. So there is some hope on the side of Marvel Animation. The fact that we not only get a season 2, but the rumors are they would like to see 4 seasons out of it, meaning that they are very happy with what they have seen from season 1 to at least greenlight season 2. Bring it on. The fact that we're getting this show back in any incarnation is just, I'll take what I can get. I'm just very, very surprised and thrilled for this. So, but all right. Well, we will see you all next week. Same time, same channel. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.